All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Hot Route Takes. This is the NFL Week 15 recap show. I'm your host, Chase Owens, along with my good friends Christian Mills and Brian Sarver. We have 16 total matchups to get to, as all 32 teams are playing in NFL Week 15. So we're going to jump right into it. The first is a big talking point, and we have yet to talk to Christian on the pod since this happened. A historic loss for his Los Angeles Chargers, but a loss that maybe will benefit them. There's no maybe about it. We've been preaching it. It's going to benefit them. And in the end, it was a tough one to watch. I'm sure you quit watching, as most of the nation probably did once it got out of hand. But final score 63-21. The Vegas Raiders just putting up a lot of numbers offensively against the Chargers. And you could tell when they interviewed Staley at halftime, he was very dejected and pretty much had the sense that his job was through. Come around next morning, Staley is fired. Praise the Lord, hallelujah, hands in the air, all that good stuff. I know Christian's happy. He's gone, along with the GM who has built this roster and shaped it to what it is today. He is gone as well. So clean house coming for the Chargers. Hope to build around Herbert in the future, but Christian, you may not want to talk about this game at all, but maybe you can give some thoughts on the Chargers firing of Staley finally, and maybe what they're looking to do moving forward.
Yeah, hopefully moving forward, you do keep like a guy like Austin Eckler out on the field the whole game. We're having a running back by committee that should not be a running back by committee. And I just think, new coach, definitely, I don't know what you could do you did bring a defensive guy in and you seen what the outcome was with it, but I don't know if you go with an offensive guy. I just feel like that's not our weakness right now is the offense. I think it's definitely defense. But you see normally now the league, when you do get these defensive guys in, it's just the offensive guys normally come over the top and normally are the winners out of those. So I just think, at least with the GM, I will say you can definitely say, hiring or not hiring, but getting Tom in here and what he did with the edge, paying top dollar for two guys. Quentin Johnson draft pick, you can say it's definitely a question mark now. And then some of the veterans, definitely the linebackers we went and got, just were not the right pickups, I think you would say, for this team. Maybe for what Staley wanted to run, but just did not work with this system, I don't think. So I just think moving forward, I don't know what you do, honestly. I'm excited to see what they do moving forward. I'd be very, I've heard some names for coaching positions, but that's just rumors. That's nothing 100%. So I just ready to see what they do moving forward. And I think more than the head coach is a big thing moving forward, but definitely I think the GM to me is more important than getting the right head coach in.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think that's been the move. It's been head coach carousel really for the Chargers since Philip Rivers era, really. Since Schottenheimer, Norv Turner, all those guys that got extended runs, they've just kind of turned them in and out and hoping to find the guy. And they got lucky enough to get Herbert and have a franchise QB, but have failed to reach the playoffs now 3 out of 4 years with him. So disappointing, and that boils back to the GM who has failed to put the roster around him that he needs. So we have got a lot of weeks and a lot of off season to really exhaust this topic, and I'm sure we will. So we'll save that for another pod, and for now, just focus on what the Chargers finish the year out and what position they're going to get in the draft and what players look like they need to stick around and the rest that can be moved on from. So that's it for the Thursday night game. Getting to Saturday, we had 3 ball games that had a lot of action. The first one we're going to touch on here is the Cincinnati Bengals pulling out a comeback overtime win, 27-24 final. T. Higgins, a clutch, amazing play. I'm sure it's been seen by all the audience by now, but 21-yard touchdown with about 40 seconds left in the game, extended over the pylon, reaching back behind him. Just a great play. He had a great game as well. And Jake Browning, he had his lumps. He threw a pick, and he didn't look all the way there at times, but man, it's getting – he bounced back, and the performances he's putting together is really making you think, how good is Joe Burrow? Like, it's a question floated around. I'm not saying he's better than Joe Burrow, but man, a guy like Browning making this system click and look good against a playoff hopeful team in the NFC is inspiring stuff for Cincinnati. So they stay in the playoff race. They move to 8-6. The next Saturday game was a bit of a snooze fest. Me and Brian were on the Steelers to have a good day defensively, and they got behind the Colts and Gardner Minshew and company rather quickly in the second half, especially. This game really stretched out. Gardner Minshew, efficient, no turnovers, and Trey Sermon was the leading back in the backfield. Whereas Pittsburgh offense, we've told this tale in probably like 30 podcasts by now, but they struggle, and they struggle quite a bit. So either of you guys that watch this game extensively, I'll let you get some quick notes on it before we move on.
I don't got much to say on this one.
Michael Pittman looked good till he got out. I will say that. So I just think definitely keeping Michael Pittman near the future is key for definitely when Anthony Richardson come back. And just I think you could tell by the running back room, Jonathan Taylor is missed dearly still, but this team's defense is looking better and better each week. It's my note definitely away from this game, but it's also the Steelers' offense, so don't take it too far.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. So the final primetime Saturday game was a banger, really, from the Detroit Lions. They put together probably one of their best performances of the year, 42-17 victory over the Denver Broncos. And we were talking on the preview show how Denver was sitting just one game back now behind Kansas City in the AFC West. Maybe they can steal that division. Well, they really needed to win this game. I know they have a soft schedule the rest of the way, the last three, but a win here would have went a long way to accomplishing that, and they just did not look the part. Detroit, big lead. Jared Goff 5 touchdowns on the day, just heck of a game. And Jamar Gibbs, who a guy we highlighted that could have a big day, 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. On St. Brown over 100 yards, just playmakers galore on the Detroit side of the offense. Laporta had 2 touchdowns. Both of you guys, go ahead and show some love to Detroit because we were worried about them for the last few weeks, but they put together a great performance on Saturday night.
I thought Detroit just played great football. I think they played complimentary football, and they were able to stick to the script that fits what they have. And defensively, they were able to limit Russell Wilson and company, and they didn't get a whole lot going throughout the game. They moved the ball, I would say, somewhat consistently, but just not able to cash in. But Detroit, credit to them. Their running game was awesome and allowed Jared Goff to play action off of that and really spread the ball around. Nice game from Jamison Williams, kind of a rocky start to his young career, but he did get 7 targets in this game, 4 catches and 47 yards. That's not a lot, but you like to see him getting involved, maybe be that third piece in the passing game behind Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who each had pretty good days themselves, including 3 touchdowns for Sam Laporta. So good win for this Lions team.
Yeah, my big takeaway is just Gibbs. I know early on in the year, people talking about that pick not being a smart one. I still support it. I did when they first made the pick. This dude's a game changer, and they're showing it now later in the year when they've actually found a way to utilize him. And just I think they really took over this game by deleting Denver's run game. They made Russell quote-unquote cook, and we've seen this year multiple times. When it happens, Russ is just not that player anymore. So I think for teams moving forward, when they play Denver, you delete the running game and make Russell Wilson try to beat you.
Yep, great formula there, and Detroit very much hit their game script to a T and put together their best performance. That's it for the Saturday 3 games we had. Moving on to Sunday, stinker. Yeah, and I see you guys shaking your head. Do we want to cover it? I mean,
yes, I do. I want to.
The Carolina Panthers, for our listeners, the Carolina Panthers picked up their second win of the year, a 9-7 victory over the Atlanta Falcons, who dropped us 6-8. Big misstep for the Falcons. They had a chance to stay in stride with the Saints and the Bucks in first place of that division, and then they drop a road game to Carolina. The type of game that makes you wonder, how does Arthur Smith survive this? But that's maybe speculation for another pod. I'll just let each of you speak on what you saw from the game itself. I know it was not much to look at, but just 204 yards total for the Atlanta offense. That's becoming one of the hard to watch things of the week. As much as we talk about Carolina, Atlanta's very much struggling in the same boat.
Atlanta's offense is just, man, it's in pieces right now. I would say that Arthur Smith deserves to be fired. I don't think that he will be. But this offense, I mean, golly. Granted, Desmond Ritter's not helping at all. He had another pick in this game and another lost fumble. But just the negligence to involve Bijan Robinson, dude. 7 carries for 11 yards. Granted, he's not effective, but you got to give that guy more touches. I'll harp on that and harp on that and harp on that. And then your leading receiver today is Jonnu Smith. That's also, you can't have that with the talent they have on their offense. You can't do that. And But credit to Bryce Young. He had a somewhat clutch drive to finish the game. He only had 167 yards passing, but, no turnovers. So, I actually had a fumble loss, but no
No,
interceptions. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short, but just Robinson, I want to highlight his day a little bit more because we beat the drum for him, but this was his performance today. Like Brian said, 7 carries, 11 yards, 1 reception, 3 yards, 1 fumble, .4 fantasy points. So maybe Arthur Smith maybe know a little bit more. I think maybe about Robinson, but I don't think so. I think he has a hidden talent. But I will say in college football, he did play in Texas, rainy game. Maybe Smith didn't have that much faith in him with those conditions, you can maybe argue. But on the Bryce Young side of thing, I will say that last drive, Bryce Young, that is the best I've seen him look in his NFL career so far. Money drive when they needed it mostly, he did it. So I just think, Bryce Young can at least build upon that. And I will say now that they have an actual running back they believe in Herbert, he's actually gave them a little bit of juice, I think, on offense. But I just think, their wide receivers have to improve for Bryce Young, but I think the Panthers is going to be a multiple year thing before we really get high on that team. But Atlanta, I think we all will say is you maybe argue a quarterback, coach, something's missing for this team to really get going because I believe the talent's there.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with everything you said there, Christian, especially for the Panthers fans. If there's anything you can take from this football season, maybe it's that final drive that Bryce Young orchestrated to win them this football game. Because you're not getting a first-round pick. Gave that to Chicago. You can't really look forward to too much in the offseason. I know the draft can still build through there, but that drive alone maybe gives you a little hope that Bryce Young, surrounded by better talent, can give you something. So we'll exhaust it there for that football game. The next one up was an overtime matchup in the AFC South, one that I did not really see coming. I knew when I heard CJ Stroud was out for the Texans, I went ahead and flipped my pick to Tennessee because I expected them to just be well coached and play well defensively. And they did that for much of the first half against Case Keenum and the Texans. But slowly by slowly, the Texans kept chipping away, got some field goals, and got a touchdown with about 3 minutes left in the fourth to tie it and send it to overtime. And then the defense was really dominated in overtime. In the end, Kaimi Fairbairn, a 54-yard walk-off kick as time expired. So he misses that, ends in a tie, funny enough. So all things considered, I think Houston should be very proud of their performance, especially defensively, because they're in the thick of the AFC wildcard chase, and you expect CJ Stroud to come back. Winning any football game against any team without him is a big notch under their belt. So either of you guys have any takeaways from this football game?
I just had one takeaway. Derrick Henry finished this game with 16 carries for 9 yards, 0.6 yards per attempt. And then Will Levis, 2 turnovers, got sacked 7 times, maybe a little bit falling back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah, I'd agree, Brian. But Derrick Henry combo is an interesting one, maybe one we save for another pod. But, whole thing with age, running backs, and once they get to that age, how productive are they going to continue to be? He'll be a free agent this offseason, I believe, or available in the very least. So I'm not sure how many teams want to kick the tires on that, given the performances we've seen. But at the same time, Tennessee's offensive line is not the best. So what do you do? We'll talk about that in another pod anyway. But our next game here, Brian, you're going to take the floor with this one. Your Dolphins picking up a 30-0 shutout of the New York Jets at home, moving to 10-4. Impressive stuff. No Tyreek Hill, no problem. Tua had a great day. Defense was really the talking point for me. They just absolutely balled out all day. New York Jets offense had nothing going all day. So, Brian, go ahead and touch on what you saw from your Dolphins in this football game.
Well, like you said, the defense is what highlighted the day for me, with only allowing 103 yards of offense. That is the second lowest yards allowed in Miami Dolphins history. Last time they had allowed less yards than that was in 1973 against the Bills, where they allowed 76 yards. So, historic day for the defense. They really got after whoever was at quarterback all day. Zach Wilson left just before halftime and just finished with 6 sacks on the day, 5 in the first half, and then just being efficient on offense. Tua finished 21 of 24 with 200 something odd passing. 224 yards passing, a touchdown. Did get sacked 3 times, but, backup offensive lineman, no Tyreek Hill. They still got the job done, so credit there. And then Raheem Mostert finishing with 2 touchdowns, now breaking the all-time touchdown record for a Miami Dolphins player with 20 touchdowns this season. So credit to him, credit to the entire Miami Dolphins team for a good team win and a nice shutout for the defense. And, Tua looked like he knew what he was doing out there,
Hey, good job for him. I'm happy for him.
Obviously, some feelings still boiling over from our last pod, but Tua is a hot topic on this pod always, and given his performance today, I got to give him some credit. Jets really didn't have any answer for him, and for a team without Tyreek Hill is surprising because the Jets are so good defensively, but at the same time, when your offense is that bad, we'll kind of harp on that side as well. So that's it. Really, Jets fans, I don't know what to say to you anymore. Try to get healthy in the offseason around Aaron and build, but that's just some topics and some combos for another pod is all I'll say. So next up, guys, we have maybe one of the game of the days in the 1 o'clock window. I thought a game I was very much looking forward to watching. That's the Chicago Bears and the Cleveland Browns. Chicago really had this game by the hand, or by the grass for the majority of it. Once they got that pick six from Tremaine Edmonds, it was off a tip ball. He returned it 45 yards to the house to give him a 14-7 lead, kicked a field goal in the third quarter to go up by 10, entering the fourth. And then Joe Flacco just turned things around, really. He ended up gaudy passing yards numbers, 374 yards passing, which you get behind by 10 going into the fourth. Obviously, going to air it out a little bit more. Not the formula I think Cleveland wants, but Joe Flacco hits Amari Cooper on a big catch and run for 51 yards to tie it with 3 minutes left. They get the ball back. They kick a field goal with 32 seconds left, and Chicago has one last prayer to win this game. It's a Hail Mary deep in the end zone. Justin Fields airs it out, tipped up, lands right in Mooney's lap for the game-winning touchdown, and it doesn't stick. Falls to or actually gets picked off as it deflects up again. So tough day, tough ending for the Bears because I thought they really were one of the hottest teams in football defensively. Both of these defenses are really good. We preached that in the preview, and they delivered. I think both sides, and Fields played good against a good defense, but that last play is going to leave sour taste in Bears fans' mouths because that was a game they could have won. They really dominated for a majority of it, but that's it for as the AFC North rival. Cleveland's hanging around. If we drop this one tonight, they'll be just a game back. So not one I want to see go that way, but hopefully my Ravens pull it out. We'll keep a lead on them. That's the team to watch, though. Next up, Christian, I'm going to let you hit on your guy Baker. He very much outplayed Jordan Love today, and Jordan Love didn't play bad by any means, but 34-20 victory for the Bucs to move to 7-7 and maintain first place in the NFC South. Baker Mayfield finishing this game with a perfect passer rating. So take of that what you will. Speaks to that performance he had today. So Christian, go ahead, give him the love.
Nah, Baker Mayfield, 22 for 28, 381 yards, 4 touchdowns, QBR 158.3. And I will say Baker Mayfield was, hitting some throws that we've not seen out of Baker in a long time. On the money, tight windows. But, my big takeaway is what I've been saying on pod week in, week out, and that's Rashid White. Since they've got him going in the backfield, I think he's making it a lot easier for Baker Mayfield. But also, Chris Godwin showed up today for, I think, the first time you could maybe say all year. And I think moving forward, if he's playing like this and Tampa Bay does sneak into the playoffs and their defense is playing like they are right now, I think Tampa Bay could be a team that you might have to watch out for moving forward. But I would be impressed with their defense. I say that we've seen Jordan Love. Yes, last week he did struggle a little bit, but now this is 2 weeks in a row that you can say he hasn't been at what we've seen him in the past. But I think there's a big win definitely for Tampa. And then Atlanta losing to now it's really, I guess you can argue the Saints and Tampa Bay fighting, or not, the Saints, Tampa Bay fighting for that division. So I just think, Tampa Bay's got, I think, one more hard game. And then after that, it's really, I think they control their own destiny the rest of the way.
Yeah, to speak on that, Christian, I believe I'm looking now, the Bucs play the Jaguars on Christmas Eve, and then on New Year's Eve, a matchup at home against those Saints. That's very well could be for the division. Week 18, they finish at Carolina, so very, very winnable game. that game, New Year's Eve, we're going to probably preview that one extensively because that very much seems to be like it's going to be for the NFC South. And speaking of the NFC South, we get to the Saints, who hosted the New York Giants today. They picked up the win 24-6. Defensive. Really, this seems to be the Saints story all year, right? They're 7-7. The defense, when they play very well and get turnovers and just have a day, they win the game. When the offense is forced to pick up the slack, it's not doable. Like, it don't happen. Yeah. Derek Carr doesn't get it done, but he didn't have to today, and the defense balled out. Derek Carr did throw 3 touchdowns, just over 200 yards in the air, so efficient and very well orchestrating that offense, but not making plays to win you games, I would say. Just hat tip to the Saints defense for having a day. I know it's the Giants offense and DeVito, and he was the leading rusher, sadly, for the Giants offense as well. So little disappointing to see that, but just hat tip to the Saints defense. This is what it's going to come down to. I think Bucs offense versus Saints defense week on New Year's Eve, week 17. That's going to be the matchup we preview extensively in our show that week. So next up, we'll move along to an AFC East foe. Brian, your rival New England Patriots hosted the Kansas City Chiefs, and for a lot of this game, Bailey Zappi was playing pretty well. They were hanging right there with the Chiefs, but a late touchdown, I believe in the first half it was, to extend this lead. The Pats offense, once they were down double figures, you kind of pretty much knew the game was at hand. 27-17 final. So, Brian, what did you see from the Pats? I mean, I know we've kind of touched on there's not much left to say on them, but if you want to touch on the Chiefs as well, a team you're battling for in seed position in the AFC, you can't be too impressed with what they put together. I know it's a win, but still, they didn't look the best.
No, I think a large part of it is the lack of getting Travis Kelce involved in the offense. You know, they targeted him. This has kind of been a thing Christian's been touching the last couple of weeks, is that connection is just not as strong as it was earlier in the season, and defenses are kind of figuring out a way to slow it down and forcing them to go elsewhere. Rashee Rice has been that guy when they go elsewhere, but it's not like it's crazy productive. It's not like the offense is clicking on all cylinders when they have to play like that. Rashee Rice did finish with 9 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown, but Kelce got 7 targets, only had 5 catches, 28 yards. So they got to get him more involved. They expect to compete with the higher level teams in the AFC. But I think that they very well are capable of doing so with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, obviously, right? And then credit to Bailey Zappi. I think that he's given this Patriots team a lot more life than we saw from Mac Jones, honestly. So credit to him. It looked like they tried to get Ezekiel Elliott going today, and it just didn't happen. So, credit to Kansas City taking care of business, even though it's a little ugly.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there, Brian. And something we've touched on the past few weeks, really last week with the KC offense, is the absence of Pacheco. He's a big difference maker for that team, and I'll continue to preach it. You no longer have that weapon in Tyreek Hill on the outside. They kind of supplemented that last year in their playoff run with Pacheco. I still think it's a dangerous team in the playoffs, but they need him and Kelce clicking if they want to make some noise in the AFC playoffs. So that's it for the 1 o'clock slate of games. We had just 3 4 o'clock games to get to, and we'll finish up this recap episode. The first one here, Christian, I'll let you touch on the LA Rams, a team I was uberly impressed with last week. They got out to a big lead against the Washington Commanders at home. Ended up barely holding on. It was a 1-possession game, although it was a late touchdown from the Commanders that really made this one closer than it looked. 28-20 final. The Rams pull out a win. What'd you see from Matt Stafford and that great Rams rushing attack? Again, Kyron Williams having a day. Touch on them for a little bit and what you see from them in the NFC playoff picture, Christian.
Williams, just since he just came back, I've hit on it a couple times. He did have one big fumble this game, had to sit out a drive. They did let him come back in at the end of the drive. He scored on that one. But I think Williams is, definitely, if they're going to go make some noise in the playoffs, he has to keep his performance up. And Cooper Kupp, I would say, you look at his stats and think he had an amazing day, but there was one play, you're going to see it definitely highlights. He was wide open. Nobody was near him, miscommunication on defense. I think it was like a 69-yard touchdown. So, that helped the stats a lot, but I don't know how that happens when we can argue that's still a top 5 wide receiver, I guess, if you really wanted to argue it. But I think you can't leave a guy like that open like that. And just Matthew Stafford, I think, he's looking good. He's not, hadn't made any mistakes. Now it's just Matthew Stafford, I think, who he is as a player at this point. But on the Commander side, I mean, I will say Sam Howell getting benched. I wonder what's going to go on moving forward next week. We've heard talk about Sam Howell being their guy moving forward, and then this happens. So I'd be surprised definitely if they keep losing games. And like we're saying with the Chargers, if they get a good draft pick and there's some of those guys on the board that you can argue could be a better quarterback than Sam Howell. I think going forward, Washington's just going to be a team where we kind of look back like we're doing with the Chargers and think where they end up. Then the Rams is just one of those teams we kind of see who their first matchup will be if they do make it in the playoffs, and then go from there on what we think of this Rams team.
Yeah, I'd agree with all that, Christian. The Rams very much fighting for a playoff spot in the NFC, so taking care of business at home against the team you're supposed to beat. Kudos to them. It's going to be a rough schedule to finish, I believe, but they have the firepower on offense to make the things happen and sneak into the NFC playoffs. So, speaking of an NFC West team, we've got maybe for all our money the best team in football right now. I know me and Christian preached that on our last pod, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. Defense didn't have the best day. We know both sides of the ball in San Francisco can be elite, but the defense was not elite tonight. But that didn't matter because the offense put up 45 points. Well, I know they had an interception return, so make it 38. Still a very good day efficiently from the San Fran offense. I know it's on the road against a lowly Cardinals team, but just to touch on some of these guys, these playmakers on the 49ers offense, Brock Purdy, another sound day, 242 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's racking up the touchdowns this year, guys. Christian McCaffrey, just 18 carries, but didn't matter. Over 100 yards, 115, 6.4 average per carry. Very great stuff. He was involved in the passing game, over 70 yards receiving as well, 2 touchdowns receiving. Kittle had a couple of big catches. Debo, Ayuk, all the guys we've touched on in spades on the San Francisco 49ers. They just came to play and took care of a less than talented Arizona Cardinals team. So hat tip to them. If they want to continue that push for the 1 seed, they have to win these games. Obviously, they have a big matchup coming up on Christmas Day, Monday night against my Ravens. So if there wasn't a game that was already being hyped up as potential game of the year, I think that one and the Week 17 one between the Ravens and Dolphins, all those games kind of fall in this category. Great teams battling each other for playoff position, seeding, all those good things. This is why we love talking about football with you guys. So we'll have that one previewed for you extensively next week. But not to look ahead too far, we've got one final 425 game, and it was one that Christian was all over. He called the Bills. Both of y'all really gave some Josh Allen love on the last pod in our MVP rankings, and I was kind of taking a back seat. We're like, wow, I didn't think about Josh Allen. They're 7-6, but now they moved to 8-6. You're like, okay, maybe he's the one to fuel that. No, credit Joe Brady and the offensive play calling today, because James Cook and the ground game really put a hurting on the Dallas defense. Big day from him. So, Christian, touch on that Bills offense. What you thought was going to happen really came to fruition, and they just had a dominant win, 31-10 final over the Cowboys at home. What do you see from that Bills team that motivates you to get a playoff spot like you predicted in the takes episode we asked for?
Yeah, man. My big thing is just, I said Josh Allen was going to have to really do it these next couple of weeks, and they proved me wrong right out the gate with James Cook. I said they need to get him more involved, and I didn't think they were, going to do it. And 25 carries, James Cook was doing it a lot, and he was even in the receiving game. He had the 1 touchdown, but they also missed one in the red zone that would have easily gave him 2 touchdowns. So James Cook could honestly had 3 touchdowns on the day. And I just think moving forward, my biggest takeaway was, the defense for the Cowboys, I would say, was missing a lot of pieces, but the Cowboys' offense was not. And I think for the Buffalo's defense, it has been beaten up a lot. I know Brian knows more about that than I do because, that's a division rival for him. But I'm just impressed with Buffalo's defense missing a lot of pieces and just went out and did what they did today against a Cowboys team that has shown they will hang some points up on a lot of teams. So my biggest takeaway is definitely Buffalo's defense is improving week now in out. And I think the offense, James Cook, if he can keep this up, I think if Buffalo, like we said, do sneak in, I think that's a matchup nightmare for a lot of teams who how did this team come back and even get in the position they're in?
Yeah, how you feeling, Brian? Yeah, because let me ask you this, Brian. They're sitting at 8 wins now. Dolphins at 10. you guys have to play my Ravens still, and you also play the Cowboys. You have a difficult 3-game stretch to finish. Do you think Buffalo takes care of business, wins their next two, and it comes down to Week 18 in Miami for that division? Buffalo's looking like they could make that a reality for you.
I would like to think that Miami could pick up a win out of one of the next two games and save themselves from that being the case. But even if that is the case, and we pick up 2 wins, and we're sitting at 12-4, or we pick up one of the wins, and we're sitting at 11-5, and then Buffalo wins their next 2 games, they're at what 10-6.
6.
So if they beat us in the final week there, then
yeah,
they would be for the division.
Yeah, that's a scenario I didn't really see playing out just a few weeks ago because Miami had looked so strong and Buffalo really just looked cooked. But since this offensive coordinator change, I think this team has really propelled on that side of the ball. The defense is playing great. As Christian touched on, Dallas, I know they had a sickness going around. The defense was really beat up today. But the offense really didn't have any excuses. And all that MVP love we just gave to Dak for his performance against Philly, this performance will pull him a little bit back towards the field and allow other guys like Tua, Lamar, Brock Purdy, the other guys that can put together great performances this last quarter of the year, maybe steal that MVP award from him and have Dallas. Now they're the game behind Philly for the NFC East. If Philly wins out and they have the same record, I believe Philly has that tiebreaker due to conference record and all those things. So Dallas is a really good team, but it looks like they're going to be playing on Wild Card Weekend. So tough one to drop on the road. I know it's a good Bills team, but if they wanted to any aspirations of the 1 seed, taking it from San Fran, they really had to win this game, and that looks to be shot now. So with that said, that's all our 4 o'clock games. That's all our Sunday slate of games, all 15. Well, we have 2 remaining, obviously, the Sunday night game, which me and Christian are about to get together and watch the Jacksonville Jaguars. I will get on record. I picked the Jaguars on our last pod. I have flipped. I went to the Ravens. I couldn't help myself. Kyle Hamilton is playing. I think the Jaguars are a very, very good team. Very well can win this game, but I'm going to pick the Ravens and watch extensively and hope that doesn't bite me in the butt. So with that said, if either of you guys have any closing thoughts, we'll let you get those and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, Christian had a good day today in the pick'em. I don't know if you guys saw.
He did. It started on Saturday with the Colts call and all those things. You had a great day, Christian.
10 wins.
Some team just had to let me down, man.
And see, I
no names on that team, man.
I noticed his good day, and he was the one that was on the Ravens. Me and Brian were on the Jaguars, and I was like, you know what, my buddy Christian's just killing it this week. Let me go ahead and flip over back to my guys. Team I'm going to be pulling for anyway, baby. So let's go, Lamar. Let's go, everybody. Let's have a good Sunday night game. These are 2 great AFC teams. We're going to have a lot of fun watching this one. And as always, we will recap it for you along with the Monday night game when we get together for the Wednesday preview pod for NFL Week 16, guys. Just great stuff. The crunch, the witching hour of the season, if you will. A lot of seeding implications and fight for playoff positioning and playoff spots, for that matter, in both conferences we will have to touch on in the next episode. So as always, guys, if you haven't already, give us a follow on Twitter. I am at ChaseOwens96. Christian is at C_Mills241, and Brian is at Sarver_Brian. Give us all a follow on there. Continue to like, share, and subscribe, rate, and review the podcast itself, both on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. All the TikTok videos, Instagram videos, and YouTube Shorts we get published for you guys. Please like, comment, and share those amongst your friends. Send it to an NFL football fan in your life. I'm sure you have one. And until next time, guys, we will see you on the Monday morning, or this will be published for you Monday morning. We will see you for Wednesday night, published Thursday morning for the NFL Week 16 preview show. So thank you as always for listening. Until next time, peace out.
Be healthy, Dallas.
We need them healthy next week, Chris.